Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys a pickled beets recipe that you can water bath can. Normally, if you're going to be canning beets, since they're not acidic, you would pressure can them. But since these are going to be pickled beets, the vinegar makes them acidic. I'm hoping our signal's okay. We've had issues with the weather, so we're going to try and get this done today. Harvesting up our beets. This is a recipe that I did last year. So we got these beautiful beets here that we've been harvesting the last of here in South Texas, Zone 9B. And I'm just gonna take the tops off and give these last two a quick wash. Finish getting the dirt off. Best I can. So we've got these beautiful beets. I harvested, I don't know, about 15 or so this morning, which was the last in the garden. And this recipe comes to you from a customer of ours. She's about 70-something years old. It is her mother's recipe. It is a blue ribbon Texas Fair first prize winning recipe, and honestly it's the simplest recipe you could ever use, and we loved it for our beets. You actually get two uses out of it, and I'll explain that in a second. So I'm going to be sharing that recipe with you guys today and showing you what we have going on. So let's see, try to bring you down a little bit into my kitchen. So I have a small kitchen, and if I can do this, you guys can do this in this, like an apartment or whatever. Just need a stove top and either pint size or quart size jars. We're going to be using quart size jars today, and I can fit about 3 large beets, maybe a half a beet. So you want to fit them into about here because we're going to be filling these up. And so what I've already done is I've got my jars ready, got my water ready to boil the beets. I've got some beets here already pre-peeled, so I've peeled them, I've washed them, I've peeled them, and I like ours diced into like almost like French fry size because they fit in the jar really well, and it doesn't matter if some of them, if it was a littler beet or a bigger beet, if you need to, you could cut them in half, I guess. But because they'll be a little bit different sizes, as long as they're about the same thickness, they'll all cook up and can up just beautifully. So what I do to measure out, see how many jars I need, is as I'm dicing up my I'm dicing up my beets. I have one jar that I'm using to measure them in, and then I'm pouring them into my bowl. So I know I already have 5 quarts here, and so this is my 6th quart I'm working on. You can slice them into circles or whatever shape or size you like best. I just kind of like the little matchstick ones. These make a beautiful like beet salad, or this is a very cooling recipe. So in the summertime, we love eating these with, you know, cold cuts and cheeses or charcuterie boards. And then once you've eaten all of your pickled beets, the beet juice that's in your jar, you can boil up some eggs and peel the shells and pop your hard-boiled eggs into the jar, stick them in the fridge for 3 to 5 days, and you have these beautiful purple pickled beets that taste amazing. They're so beautiful, and if you're able to get it done in time before Easter, you know, this would be a great time if you have beets in your garden to do that. So cut 5. I'm just gonna, so expect to get messy. Beets are going to stain you. They just are. So get out your old t-shirts, your not so best towels, and don't worry about all of that. I guess if you wanted to use gloves, you could. So if someone has a better suggestion of how to get the beet stain off my hands, it'll probably take me a few days of scrubbing at it to get it all off. I'm not too worried about it because we're always getting dirty with something or the other. So I'm always scrubbing. But if you have a tip that would help get the stain of the beet juice off, let me know below. That would be really helpful. I don't know that I've looked up anything. So for your quart-sized jars, you can fit about 3 large beets, and you're going to put 6 tablespoons of white vinegar per quart jar. You're going to put 3 tablespoons of sugar, and we actually are using the organic light brown sugar. It gives a really good flavor. The only sugar I probably wouldn't use for this recipe would be coconut sugar, because that tends to really change the flavor of your recipe. Has a very different, stronger flavor with the coconut sugar. It definitely changes jams and things like that, and I don't like it. But if you like that flavor, go ahead and use it. We're going to be using that. So 6 tablespoons of vinegar, 3 tablespoons of whatever sugar you want to use, and 1/4 teaspoon of pickling salt. Pickling salt is iodine free, so it won't cause any cloudiness. If you want a clear, beautiful liquid and no cloudiness, you want to use pickling salt. Otherwise, use whatever salt you like. And 2 whole cloves. So that's the recipe. 2 whole cloves. We've got some organic cloves here. And we're going to do that per jar. So I'm going to get this boiling. So I've got 5, working on my 6th jar here. So what we're going to be doing, that's the recipe. We're going to get all of our beets peeled, sliced, and measured so we know how many jars we need. So you don't want to be running around last minute trying to find jars or all that. Like I said, just kind of dry filling them to see how many will fit in here. And that'll fill a jar. So that's my 6th jar. And I'm guessing maybe I'll get 7 jars then. That one. One more beet to peel. So you want to get your water ready for whatever water bath canner that you're using. I've got a Zavar, so I've got that water already kind of pre-boiled and on a low simmer. And just to save a little bit of time, I've got my water back here that I'm going to be boiling my beets in, already hot and ready, and my canning jars are already been cleaned and sterilized or just in some warm water. And you do want to reserve the beet juice from the beets that you cook with. So you want to make sure you have enough liquid to fill your jars with. So originally this was a refrigerator recipe, and she didn't can it, but I looked into it and we tested it out last year, and we still have some jars left that are fabulous in our pantry. So it worked out great. One more beet to go. I pulled out 8 jars because I figured I'd have six jars of this, but it looks like I'll have 7. beets off of me. Okie dokie. So we've got a dish here on the side with just a clean cloth so I can wipe my rims. And I've got all of my chopped beets, which I'm now going to add to my simmering hot water over here. So we're going to put our beets in, and we're going to cook them for about 20 minutes. Ooh, I'm going to get them all in. I dropped one. Drop one. All good. Got them rinsed off again. And don't want anybody left out. So we've got our hot pot of water ready. We are bringing our beets up to a boil. Stir. So the water was already hot just to help the process along. So we'll take ever. Just like I said, just grab whatever old towel you have. It will get stained. It's okay. So I'm going to give you guys the recipe if you're doing pints. So if you're going to do the smaller jars in pints, you would fill up your beets the same way. And you would do 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 clove, and 1/8 teaspoon of pickling salt, and 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. So that's the pint recipe. I'll type it up. So we're gonna bring our beets to a boil, let them simmer for about 20 minutes. Then we will fill them into some hot jars, add our vinegar, sugar, clove, and pickling salt, and then we're going to put our hot rings and lids on, and then we're going to water bath them for processing them for 15 minutes since they're the quarts. You would process pint jars for 10 minutes. Up. Get everything handy dandy and ready. Oh, a little bit of water. So I've already got some measuring spoons here. Cloves. Probably a good idea to grab some and put them on here so you can grab them. Pickling salt. I'll go grab a jar that we had from before. I processed these last year in 1.5 jars. I think I've used them all for our beef and everything, some other things. So I'm run out. So I'm gonna do them in the quart size jars since we love them so much. But this one is from last year. It still is intact and looking beautiful. And so these are just great to eat chilled. I like them chilled, but they do have a cooling effect because of the clove. So if you're feeling hot on a summer day, It's nice to have these as a treat, and your kids might like them because they're slightly sweet. So you wouldn't even really kind of notice the clove, but they have a sweetness to them without being, and a nice healthy snack. Um, I remember having beets as a kid all the time, and um, I was looking in the garden harvesting and trying out some different ones. I tried just doing them plain, and when we got this recipe, I looked at a bunch of other ones. I tried this one out, and we loved it so much we just decided this is the recipe we're gonna can every year. So didn't grow as many beets this year since we still have quite a few up in the pantry, but they're so fun to grow, and these are a little bit later season for us here. We had them in like a partial shady section, so we had some for dinner this week, and they're still really sweet and flavorful. And so I thought, I've got some time today, or make some time today to finish pulling these up and canning them up and get that done for our pantry. And I thought I shared the recipe last year, but I didn't. And when I checked on my YouTube channel, BeccasByTheBay, so I'm trying to get all of our recipes, our family recipes, our favorite recipes, and share them for people to follow along, or for future generations of my own family to check out, and maybe, so this information is preserved and not lost. We also started a new Facebook group. It is a page, a blog called Low Budget Vintage Recipes. This is perfect for that. So if you know anyone who has an, a large harvest of beets and is willing to share, or if beets are a good price, or you can get them for a good price, or you're growing them in your garden, this is a great recipe. And this is going to make some beautiful, beautiful beet water juice. So I am using filtered water. Um, so I have it filtered water. You could use spring water, you could use distilled water. That way you're making sure you have some good water to can with. This is just, this is more spring filtered water. And then this was just water from the tap. I didn't bother filtering it since we're just water bath canning it. That one, and then whatever I have extra usually goes into the garden because I don't like throwing the water down the drain. So I usually throw whatever extra water from canning out to the fruit trees after it's cooled down, or the grasses are really dry right now, so um, water a really dry spot in the grass. And I'd love for you guys, if you have some vintage recipes, Depression era recipes, to share them in the Facebook group or message me, because as I'm having some extra time here and there, I'm trying to search out some really good recipes, and if they're time tested and you guys love them, I'd love to be able to share it. That way we have a place to go, what all these recipes are, uh, where people can find them and then put them in their recipe books for their pantry so that they can store things up and cook things up at a reasonable price or low price. There's a lot of things happening in the world today that have made people readjust their budgets with the food shortages and the prices of inflation. And I just thought that would be really helpful to a lot of families to stretch out their budget a little bit better and to not lose this beautiful knowledge of these amazing recipes that are so simple. And so that was my goal with that. Hoping it's coming in clear enough. So yeah, just make sure you've got some of your canning tongs. And this is a little magnetic thing to grab your lids with. And it's always good to have stainless steel. Stainless steel is great for everything. I use it, it lasts a long time, better than any kind of aluminum. So I believe all of our cookware is stainless steel. Even my Zavar pressure canner here, water bath canner, is stainless steel. I think it's still available on Amazon, but the price has gone up, so just check to see if you're looking for one. This one is a 12 quart Zavar pressure canner, If you're looking for one for like an electric stove top like this is a good one. It's not too big. I would have liked a bigger one, but those weren't available at the time. And so if you can afford to get this one, this is a great one to have. Still got plenty of water. Okay. So, okay, so I guess I did that. If you were doing, I know these are really difficult to find, the pint and a half jars, but if you were doing a pint and a half jar, it's probably about 2.5 beets fit in here. I did 2.5 tablespoons of brown sugar for this size jar, 1 clove, and an 1/8 teaspoon of pickling salt. So, and 2 teaspoons of vinegar. That's what I used for this one. There's the icing. Three tablespoons of quarter cup. Basically half a cup. Half a cup per quart. Only do 4 jars at a time, so that's pretty good. See the beautiful red beet juice? That's awesome. So yeah, if you wanted to save the juice and drink it and chill it, that's an option too. Save it for some smoothies or something. With some ginger would be really lovely. Start bringing my water bath canner back up to like a medium heat. try to time everything just right, you know, without wasting too much energy. If you were gonna do this as a refrigerator recipe, you would fully cook your beets till they are fork tender, drain them, and then add your brine to your jar and any leftover beet juice to your jar. Seal it up and just place it in your refrigerator, and you'd be able to eat them in 3 to 5 days as well. So if you don't have a water canner, this option is totally available to you guys to do as a refrigerator recipe and not do any kind of water bath canning. So I'm just gonna put that out there. Probably put it want to type it up that this could be done for the refrigerator, but you would want make sure that your beets are fully cooked, fork tender. If you're doing a refrigerator version, we're like kind of boiling them for 20 minutes, and then we're finishing the cook in the water bath canner for an additional 15 minutes. So if you're doing it for a refrigerator, you could cook your beets for about 30 to 40 minutes total. Make sure that, you know, stick a knife in there or a toothpick that it goes through, it's nice and tender, and then that's how you can do this recipe without water bath canning. So get my vinegar heating up and dissolving the sugar and salt. The 4 jars I'm going to be filling up. We'll each get a half a cup of this. Get it all dissolved. Not quite. I do it on my stovetop, but I accidentally busted one of my burners, and I haven't had that replaced yet. So I only have 3 working burners, so I normally probably would not microwave it, but I don't have an extra burner right now. So let me know in the comments below if you have a beet recipe that you love for water bath canning or pressure canning. Um, if, if there's another like beet salad recipe or some other beet recipes, I'll try to put some links. I think there's like a beet cake recipe that is like a red devil's cake, and I'll have to look for it. It was absolutely awesome. I loved it. It was gluten free, shredded beet, fresh shredded beets, and I made a beet cake out of it. It was delicious. So if I can find that recipe, I will attach it to this one. All right, let's make the salt and sugars pretty much dissolve. This always takes longer than I think it would. Making sure everything is clean and sterile and set up and uh, fast forward and do all that fancy editing. So just taking